Well, from 239,000 miles above Cleveland, we ventured to a mere 210 feet below. But there's more than just fish and sand at the bottom of the Great Lakes, Erie in particular. There are thousands of ships, airplanes, other vehicles from the years past sitting underwater, most of them just rusting. Great Lakes Today's Elizabeth Miller is with Dario Snipes now to tell us about a group of divers and the shipwrecks that keep them coming back to Lake Erie. Ladies?
Thanks, Rick, and welcome back, Elizabeth.
Thanks for having me.
So when people think of shipwrecks in the Great Lakes and in Lake Erie, they might be surprised at how many shipwrecks there have been. How many?
Yeah, thousands. I mean, just over 2,000 alone in Lake Erie. And if you think about all the things that these ships were carrying, they were carrying something. So there's tons of stuff down in the bottom of Lake Erie. I mean, even cars and planes, and it's very shocking. And there's still a lot left to be discovered. Just last year, there was a wreck from 1803 found in Lake Ontario. And a couple years ago, we had the Argo here in Cleveland.
Wow. And so, well, tell me the story of the Admiral and how it sank.
Yeah, so the Admiral was a tugboat, got caught in a storm in December of 1942. It had a oil barge called the Cleveco that it was towing, and they got separated somehow in the storm, and both ships sank. 14 men died on the Admiral and 18 men on the Cleveco. According to the Maritime Archaeological Survey Team, or MAST, the Admiral is about 70 feet down into Lake Erie. It was discovered in the 70s officially, and divers have been visiting it ever since. And after its discovery, unfortunately, divers took items from the Admiral for their personal use. And luckily, an Ohio law, after a 1991 Ohio law, outlawed that and prohibited that.
So what's the point of the site survey? What are divers trying to search for?
Well, they're trying to get a better idea of the ship's history, how the ship was constructed and stuff like that. I actually asked this exact question to Carrie Soden. She's the archaeological director of the National Museum of the Great Lakes. Here's what she had to say.
So what we're trying to do is sort of, for lack of a better word, take a snapshot of what's down there at the moment. To get a understanding of how the boat lies, what remains are left, remains of the vessel are left, what has fallen apart, what hasn't, and is there any clues to what may or may not have happened on the night that it sank.
On Sunday, I actually went out with the team to survey the wreck, and each of them had an assignment. So they would go down with fiberglass tape measures and clipboards covered in mylar and plastic so they could write underwater with a pencil.
Wow.
Yeah, it was crazy. And so Soden had them take measurements and dimensions of what the boat looked like so they can make a drawing of it. And so that report and that drawing will be published in Inland Seas, which is a journal from the National Museum of the Great Lakes.
Oh wow, that's amazing. So it's got to be very different to dive in the Great Lakes than, say, off of the coast of Hawaii or a Caribbean island, isn't it?
Yeah. First of all, the water's a lot murkier. The lakes were used for more than just recreation and fishing. They were used for travel. So there's a lot down there. But there are a couple of good things that set this region apart when it comes to shipwrecks. I talked to Carrie Soden about that. Here's what she had to say.
Well, the thing that's nice about shipwrecks in the Great Lakes is that we have fresh, cold water, which tends to give a little bit better preservation. So we're not looking, I mean, you can certainly find just sort of a pile of wooden bones, bones of the shipwreck, but not always, and so we have much better preservation.
Yeah, and so the water temperature on Sunday is really cold, though, for the divers. So while it might be good for the shipwreck, it's not great if you're going down there and you have to write on a clipboard and your hands are numb. The water temperature was about 54 degrees on Sunday. It doesn't sound that cold, but when you're down there for 30 or 40 minutes, it can kind of be hard to focus.
Yeah, probably. And so these divers, they come from all over, and they're volunteers. What organizations are they working with?
Yeah, so the organization that hosted the dive is called MAST, the Maritime Archaeological Survey Team. And so they're a group in Ohio, and they have a training every spring to kind of teach groups of divers, recreational divers, technical divers, how to survey and how to do these site surveys for the group. And so what they'll do is, what they're trying to do is preserving these shipwrecks for future divers. And so they've already done a few surveys of other shipwrecks, but there's only been 5 out of those thousands of shipwrecks that have had this specific survey done and registered with the state of Ohio.
Wow. Well, Elizabeth, thanks for that information. Very interesting.